Welcome back to Off the Wire, guys. I could probably definitely use those sweat things right now, but I'm here with our guest, Skunk Ape Research Center's Dave Shealy. Welcome to the show, Dave.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm not from Florida. I'm from New England. What is a skunk ape?
It's a primate. It's a primate that really hasn't been classified by the state of Florida yet, but I've been researching them now for 40 years. It's like almost like a chimpanzee, but they stand about 6.5 feet tall. They can go 300 pounds. We have between 7 and 9 now that I've counted in the Big Cypress National Preserve.
Okay, so it's like a Bigfoot kind of Sasquatch.
If you were to see one, it looks very much like what people see all over the country as a Bigfoot, but they've got some differences. They climb trees. They spend a lot of time in the trees. We got a lot of water out there. And they have 4 toes.
Four toes.
Yeah, here's a track that was collected. I was out last week with a film company from overseas. I do a lot of filming. I just finished $500,000 of filming with Discovery Channel. It hasn't aired yet, but I did 3 shows with them. They'll be airing that soon. But these are the tracks, and they're climbers.
That is from a real skunk ape.
Yes, yes.
So
these
they're
real
pretty
animals
big.
we're talking about here. Yeah, it's not a Bigfoot.
It's a bigger foot.
They're a large animal, that's for sure.
So they're called the skunk ape. You explained the ape part.
Yes.
What is the meaning behind the skunk?
They've got a real distinct odor, like a skunky odor, almost like BO. Like it's real strong. I find it in where they're feeding. I follow a lot of food sources, and when I'm in an area where they've been staying for any amount of time, there's a real distinct odor there.
Yeah, sure. So a former roommate of mine was very smelly, very hairy. Is there a possibility that he was a skunk ape in disguise?
If he's got a foot like that. My family moved to the Everglades in 1891. We built the first school in Southwest Florida down in the 10,000 Islands, and married into a family of a doctor who helped the Seminole Indians. I spent my whole life growing up with the Indians, and there's a lot of medicinal plants throughout the Everglades, and I have a vast knowledge of all of those things and the wildlife that lives there.
We have a little bit of knowledge of those medicinal plants here in college as well.
Well, speaking of that, there's a show called the Cocaine Cowboys. It was a documentary that was shot here in Miami. They just did another show called Square Grouper, and if you happen to check it out, they got it at Walmart, but I narrated probably a third of that.
So this is by far not your first time on TV, because this is pretty new for me. But you're a natural.
Well, right now, yeah. Well, I've been doing this a long time, and it's kind of strange. There's more interest in other countries than there is right here. And this morning I spent 3 hours with National Park Service rangers and the superintendent of the preserve overviewing this track. I've got videos. The largest production companies in the country right now are trying to get me to sign contracts with them, and I'm just reluctant because I was a little disappointed of these new reality shows. They don't want to hire the rangers. They don't want to do the permitting. When I'm tracking, I'm crossing federal land, Indian reservation, private property, state land, and sometimes I'll cover that in a day. And the permitting process to commercial film in those areas is pretty extensive. It's very difficult what I do.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of questions about the National Park Service, but we're going to take a quick break, and I'll get back to that in a moment.